Hello everyone, welcome back. In the previous video, we were discussing about variables. We saw what are variables, and we also said that it is necessary that whenever you are declaring a variable, we define the data type of the variable. So in this video, let us discuss about data types. What are the different data types available and what is the functionality of data types? Now, if you find these videos helpful, kindly subscribe to the channel and like the video. Now let's come to the topic for today, that is data types. So we saw in the previous video when we were discussing about variables, we said that when you are defining a variable is like a placeholder. So when I say there is a variable A, I also tell about the data type of the variable. So this is called the data type. Okay, so the data type of the variable describes what type of variable can be stored in this location for A. So if it is an int data type, an integer value can be stored. If it is a float data type, float values can be stored. So why are data type important? Data types are important because they determine what value should be stored in the memory and how much of space should be stored for that variable depending upon the data type. And it also describes what operations can be performed on the data. It is not that every operations can be performed on every type of data. There are specific operations like division cannot be performed on character data, or division can be performed only on integer data. So similar, in that way, data types is also important to determine what type of operations can be performed on the data. Now, when we talk about data type, we have different types of data types. The first and foremost data type which we will discuss today is integer data type. Integer data types takes 4 bytes of memory. So when you are declaring that there is a variable called int a, what happens in the memory? Memory reserve space for this a, right? It should check where is that location where I have 4 bytes of memory. Only if I have 4 bytes of memory, it will reserve that 4 bytes of memory for this variable a. So int data type makes use of 4 bytes of memory. And what is the purpose of int data type? It stores whole numbers without without decimal point. Without decimal point. Okay. So second one is a floating point data type, which in C is defined as float data type. Float data type again requires 4 bytes of memory. So if you are declaring a variable of float data type, it will reserve 4 bytes of memory. And float data type stores fractional numbers, that is numbers with decimal point. And when you are defining a floating point data type with 4 bytes of memory, it is sufficient for storing 6 to 7 decimal digits. A higher version of float is a double data type, and this reserves 4 bytes of memory. Sorry, it reserves 8 bytes of memory. Float reserves 4 bytes of memory, whereas double reserves 8 bytes of memory. Same as float, it is used for storing fractional numbers and numbers with decimal point. And with this 8 bytes, it is sufficient for storing 15 decimal digits. It's same as storing fractional numbers. And fourth data type which we will discuss today here is a character data type. Character data type reserves 1 byte of memory, specifically used in storing a single character. So if I want something like, I'll have a variable character, I'll say gender is my variable name, and which is used to store either F or M. So this is how character is used. So if it can either store S, F, or it can store M or any other character, uh, it can be used as a character data type. The variable can be defined as a character data type. And there is one more concept with character data with data types called type conversion, or it is also known, some places you will hear this term, typecasting. Either typecasting or type conversion is a method or a process in which you are changing the data type from one type to another. So imagine you have a variable of integer data type and you would like to convert it to a string data type. You can typecast it, or you can do a type conversion of converting an integer to string. Similarly, you can also convert a string to integer. We will see in while we are programming how do you convert from one type to another with respect to variables. So this is about data types in programming. So basically I have explained to you four different data types: integer, float, double and character data type, and the size for each of these data type, and when and where it can be used. So if you want an integer data to be stored, you will use a int data type. If you want a bigger float value to be stored, you will use a double. If you have a variable that need to store only a single character, you will use a character data type. Yeah, that's all for this session. In the next session, I'll explain to you various operators that can be used, the types of operators and how operators are used on variables. So if you like this video, kindly like the video and subscribe to the channel. And that's all for this session. Thank you.